Welcome back, guys, to Kinda Nice podcast. Today we have a very special guest. He's been a friend of mine for a while now. We met on I think season 12 of Ninja Warrior in Vegas, but he's he's been the champ in Australia. His name is Ben Polson. You might know him from YouTube. You might know him from Australian Ninja Warrior. You might know him from music. He has a ton of just success in all these different fields, and we've shared a lot over the years and grown close over some stuff, and it's a pleasure to have him on.
Yo, good to be here. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. First and foremost, round of applause for Matisse for doing such a great job riding solo
Appreciate
today.
Right.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
I like to do these kind of solo, especially if it's a new time guest, because we can get a little more personal. We can kind of like focus in a little bit. Once we do reoccurring guests, and you could bring in more people, but I enjoy these like one-on-one interviews too. They're kind of fun. So let's start out with I'm gonna kind of explain how we met. So I think it was season 12 of Ninja Warrior, the season that I did at USA versus the World. There were two different teams. It was Team Australia, Team Europe, and Team USA, which I was on. And Ben was on Team Australia. It was this big dude, guy's like 6'4", massive guy. I was like, damn, look at this Australian walking in here. And that's how we met. We competed there, and then didn't talk much. But then later on, we kind of like DM'd, and I think, is that the only time we've been in person?
I remember you gave me a free shirt, and I was like, wow, this guy is something special. Like, because you had your TK shirts going on, and you had like a limited number of them. And I remember you gave me one, and I really appreciated that, because it's as someone that's new to the whole space over there in America, like I love Ninja Warrior, but rocking up, and I didn't know a huge amount of people personally. So that nice gesture from you went a long way. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And the funny part is, like, I didn't just give those out to anybody. Like, I only had like 10 or 5 extra ones. But I remember giving them specifically to people that I felt like, in life when you meet people and you like immediately can tell that you could be good friends with somebody, like the people that I felt that energy from, that was like good vibes. So I gave one to you. I gave one to one of the German guys. I forget his name.
Sure.
But it was like three people, and I was just like, I like these guys. So I completely forgot about that though.
And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah.
Still these years later.
So for the fans listening now, if they don't know you, you've been competing on Australian Ninja Warrior since its first season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. So just a quick rundown for all the people listening and watching right now. Back on the first season. My journey started I did a lot of CrossFit before then. I was always into kind of different things, exercise and athletics and stuff. And then I started up at this ninja gym before Ninja was even a thing in Australia. There was no TV show, no nothing, but there's a gym that opened called Ninja Academy. And I started swinging around there, and I just enjoyed it, thought it was awesome. About 9 months later, the show started up, and I was like, damn, this is good timing. Your boy's been training for 9 months, and all of a sudden there's a show. So naturally I applied, and my sexy good looks got me on. No, I think my talents over the last 9 months paid off, and I got on the show and ended up placing, I think, 9th that year, and made stage 2 grand final.
Really?
And then from then on, like the next year was just wanting to back it up, which I did. So I made stage 2 grand final again and managed to place, I think, 8th. So 1 place ahead of the year before at that rate. And then season 3 was my worst season ever. Naturally, that's just how the ninja gods struck me down.
It'd be like that sometimes.
It does, dude. It does. Yeah. So unfortunately, I just made a mistake in semifinals and I was out. But then the following year was my big year where I took out the win and became the first ever grand champion.
So you won in 4 seasons.
Yeah. Won in the 4th season. Yeah, that's right.
Nice. So I don't even know this because I don't really watch Australian Ninja Warrior, but did you continue after that? Are you still doing it now, or what's up?
Yeah. So we had, I continued after that, which is always a tough thing because I'm like, well, it's not as motivating to win twice, to win the second time. yeah, pretty much. And this is something I actually talked to Logan Paul about when I got the chance to talk to him is I kind of asked him, I was like, man, I've accomplished my life's dream. What the hell do I do now? Like, how do you find motivation to continue on for something else? Because there was nothing that I loved as much as Ninja Warrior, and I'd hit the peak of it. So like, what do you do? You know, and as we watch people like Isaac Caldiero, he's talked about it, and he said that he actually, you know, fell into quite a deep place, like quite a dark place. Because
that's like a classic thing though. And I don't want to like say classic to make it sound like light, but like a guy that I know like a story of is Tyson Fury. Like, so when he beat, I think Klitschko, correct me if I'm wrong, Rocky, because you probably know about this, but when he beat Klitschko, which was like his life's dream, was to like dethrone Klitschko as like the heavyweight champ. After that, he fell off the rails, man. He like started drinking, like super depressed, like suicidal even. It was just really tough. And now obviously you see his journey back, and he's fighting again. He's doing really well. But there's something in life to when like you're driven and you're motivated by something, and that's it. That's the why you're getting out of bed every morning. And you think when you achieve it, everything will fall into place, everything will be perfect, like your life will be the best. And then you achieve it, and then you lose that reason to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. Right? You're like, oh, I peaked, like I achieved what I wanted to, and you don't really know what's left. You're left in this like bewilderment of like not knowing what to do. And that's something that I've thought about before in Ninja, and I'm like, if I won, what would I do? Like, because I've never been one of the guys that's like fully in on Ninja. That's like 100% of my life. I've always had different avenues, which is why I think I was able to mentally be grounded and not like, if I had a bad season, I still had a good year. I didn't like think that like my value as a human was determined on like how I did on Ninja that year, which some guys do, right? And that's an awful way to live. But for me, I think if I were to win Ninja Warrior, American Ninja Warrior, I think I would hang it up after that, right? I don't think I'd be like, I think it'd be corny to, and I say corny, but some of the guys might be like this to where they win and they'd be like, well, nobody's done it twice, let me do it twice. Like, that's kind of a cop out. It's like, nah, move on with your life. Like, you've done this, do something else now. But that's personally how I would see it. But is that what that's you fair. Did, or how did it go for you after you won?
Yeah, no, it's like, it's a good point. And I think a lot of people out there will probably, can hopefully relate. They've hopefully succeeded in something they've strived for and realized, damn, what's on the other side of all this success? Like, once I hit the peak is really, not insecurity, but you've become very unsure about what the hell you want to do. And I had to kind of dive into that as well. So I mean, Logan Paul's advice was like, dude, you've got like the money from winning. You've got a bit of notoriety and something on kind of your resume to open up a few doors now. Before I won, and this is what even the producer of the show said, she's like, when you win, it's not like all of a sudden you're going to be flooded with all these opportunities. What happens is when you knock on the doors of those people, companies, whatever that you want to get in touch with before you win, they're not going to open the door. And once you win, if you knock on that door again, they'll actually let you in and have a conversation with you. But you have to be the one to go out there and actually still make something of your life. Nobody's going to come to you and just hand you anything. And that's exactly true. Like, that's just what happens in pretty much all of life. So for me, I mean, I came back the next year. I kind of just came back because I felt like I was still in good shape. And I still enjoyed participating, but I just wanted to almost go back to the season one mentality, which is just purely just do it for fun. Don't worry about the outcome, you know? And I tried my best to try and get myself into that mindset. It's really difficult though, after so many years of building up to this, like, you got to win, train hard, take it seriously. It's kind of hard to flip that switch and just go back to like, oh, it doesn't matter anymore. Just have fun. So I kind of was having fun, but it was also still very stressful and serious at the same time. But I think it paid off, and I think ended up making stage 2 of the grand final again. And I did. Yeah. And then I think I came 7th or 8th that year. So it was still good, but
was that your last season?
We just filmed another one, but I won't reveal the results because it's not even out in Australia.
You did participate?
Yeah, I did participate. Yeah.
So you've never taken a season off?
I've never taken a season off, but every single year I do it, I get one step closer to really wanting to.
Welcome to my life.
It's pretty freaking mentally taxing to do the show.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Came back from competing in France. and yeah, it was mentally exhausting. Like the months leading up to it, competing for the 2 weeks itself is emotionally draining. But it's so fulfilling. It's like so like like once you've done it, you're so proud of yourself for doing it, right?
Yeah.
But there comes a time and place for me, especially having to choose like next year. Like, okay, maybe I can compete in France again. Maybe I can compete in America again. But it's if there was another opportunity in my life that was like on the same scale, and that I enjoyed as much, if not more, like I think I would be ready to like go ninja fully.
Yeah.
But I think we're in the same boat, so we're like we're both good at ninja. We both have decent personalities that people enjoy like watching on the show and following. And because of that, it's hard to be like, man, I don't want this opportunity. It almost feels like I'm not grateful, right? It almost feels like from the outside, I'd be like, why aren't you grateful for this? Because some people train, I don't know if it's like this in Australia, but in America, some people train year round and don't even get calls, don't even get to touch an obstacle on the course.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of that stuff in life for sure. And I guess it's, you know, a lot of people just maybe pushing their own insecurities onto, onto us or whatever, because you're totally right. There's way more people out there which would love to get on the show, which can't get on the show. Yeah. And then here's you and me talking about like, I might go on again, you know, like
sitting there fuming like F these guys.
It does, man. And I know what you mean, but that's like everything in life, you know, there's always someone in a position that you want to be in. But this goes back to the whole thing we said before about once you win, you kind of lose that happiness. It's also the same as like, you know, wanting to get to a certain position is sometimes trying to get there is sometimes much more enjoyable because you're so motivated every single time to try and get there than when you're actually in the position like we are, where we just kind of can guarantee to get on the show every year. We don't really have to work for it, and we've already experienced so much of it. It's not really as motivating, that's for sure. It's not as enjoyable to be on the show for a lot of the time.
For sure. I just, the last episode I did, which I'll talk about a little bit, but I'm not sure if we're going to upload it as like an episode, because it was an episode with Isabel Wakeham. I don't know if you know her. It's one of the really young chicks. She's like 18 years old. She's been doing it. But it was interesting because in her, I saw everything that I was when I was her age, like the like just joy and like everything is so exciting. It's great. And it's like
the ignorance to the reality.
Yeah, it's new, right? So, I mean, it's not new to her, but like it's like the whole competition and kind of like that aspect is new to her, like the big TV stuff. And like the entire time I'm trying to kind of like tell her, like I come off as really like not bitter, but just like a pessimist towards Ninja, because I'm trying to teach her the lessons I learned before, like she, like, you know what I mean? But maybe she won't be like me. Maybe she'll be in love with it forever. I mean, like Daniel Gill's a prime example of a guy who's been doing it and is still like, you know, has glitter in his eyes when he sees
I don't understand. Obstacle. Give me whatever that guy's got. Cause
yeah, no, I feel the same way, man. I'm like, what's good? Like, what do you like? Why are you so obsessed with this? For me, I almost get envious of it. I'm like, man, because I know I could like be like really good, and almost like part of me like knows that I could win if I put in everything that I needed to, right? But I just not having
you almost want it. Like,
you know
what I mean? Like you want to want it. Like that's what you're really looking for. Is like
for sure.
Yeah.
It's, how did you, real quick, how did you even like, cause you were a gardener before Ninja, right?
Yeah. I did. I was scooping up dog poo. I don't know if I can swear on this, but
the interesting thing to me about the story you told me earlier is there was a ninja gym in Australia before Australian Ninja Warrior was even a thing. Cause in France, the show came first and then the gyms came later. So it's crazy to me that somebody like made a gym before the show was even a thing.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's someone either had some inside info, which I don't think is the case. Maybe. So Dave Ravi, who's the owner of Ninja Academy here in Perth, and he was just a massive fan of Sasuke, which is the Japanese version, as we know, and he was an accountant before that. I mean, now this is kind of a podcast about Dave Ravi, not me, but he was an accountant before that. And for some reason, he kind of quit that job and started up Ninja Academy in Perth just for the love of it. And he wanted to kind of try something new and build a space for people to connect. And and share their love around ninja, but also just movement in general.
That's cool.
So there's rock climbing, gymnastics, and everything like that as well. And that gym changed my life, dude. There's no way I would have won without that gym.
Yeah, no, you have to have a gym like that. Man, it's weird because we both speak English, but you're literally halfway across the world. Like,
yeah,
on
I
the
know.
other side, we had a little mess up with the time zones because I went on this website and I thought that like 8 a.m. your time was 6 p.m. here, but the website I guess didn't account for like an hour switch.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Not your fault. Yeah, it's not your fault. But I want to know a little bit about Australia, man. I've never been. I hear that everything out there is trying to kill you, and that it's. I looked on Google Maps, and it just looks like a desert with like a few little spots where there's people.
Yeah. That's kind of it. It's not quite. I mean, the vast majority of Australia is uninhabited. Unlike America, where pretty much everywhere you go, even in the center of it, there's going to be all sorts of massive states there. But here in Australia, we pretty much try and stick to the coast. We love the beach, and there are a few people that live in the center of Australia, but no one really bothers to go there because why would you? Then again, isn't Texas like in the center? Not the center, but it's not surrounded by water. That's for sure.
Texas has a coastline. The coastline is
it does.
Awful.
Oh, man, there you go. Yeah,
but the coastline is awful. So like I love the beach, right? Like when I'm in France, I'm at the beach every day. When I'm anywhere with a beach, like I'm at the beach because I love the water, I love the sand, I love all that. The beach here is probably 2 hours away from where I live, and I never go because Galveston is the worst. It's just really gross. There's a river that dumps out next to it, so the water's all brown. It's not the place to be. It's not the place to be.
You're not selling it to me, that's for sure.
Yeah. But
Australia.
I don't know. Do you want to talk about the move to the States at all, or discuss that a little bit, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. Like, I don't know if any of the listeners have any advice on where they think I should go and live if I ever move to America. I mean, I know you've got your opinion, but I'd love to hear the elevator pitch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what's like, if you were to give me a percentage on like how likely it is you move to America in like the next year, like what would you think it's at?
Gosh, I think percentage. The massive holdup, to be honest, to put it into one simple thing, is the visa and the price of the visa. Seems to be the holdup. There's a couple different variations I can do, and they're all pretty freaking expensive. I'm talking like almost 10,000 US, which is not cheap, even for someone that like myself that won Ninja. It's still a lot of money, But if I were to move over, I think there could be at least a 40-50% chance, to be honest.
Wow, it's a coin flip, man. That's not too bad.
Yeah. So we're definitely thinking LA, though. I know it's cliche and everything.
I mean, I think it makes sense for you because it's closer to Australia. So you ever have to go back, like it's right there. You're not like, if you were like in New York, it would be like an extra 6 hours of a flight.
Sure.
If not more. But LA, dude, I would live, if LA didn't have LA problems, I would live in LA or like right now. And also like I have a big community in Houston of people that it'd be hard to recreate in LA, right? I kind of have my roots here.
Yeah.
You don't, so you don't have that problem. But every time, I remember the first time I went to LA was for Ninja versus Ninja College Madness. I was 18 years old. And it was surreal, like just getting to be there, especially getting to be there to film a TV thing, like getting put up in a hotel, getting to like kind of hang out with other kids my age, and just like it was surreal. I was like, this place is awesome. Now it's funny because the first thing, you hop out of LAX and then I go to my hotel that's like 5 miles away, and it's like we sit in traffic for an hour because it's LA, right? But LA's got like everything with, like you have the beach, you have the mountains. Like when it comes to nature, like you can't beat it. It's also like, year round good weather. And then for creatives, I think LA was such a hub for such a long time. I don't know if it still is, because I feels like a lot of the creators and like that movement isn't there as much as it was, say like when Vine was popping off, right?
Yeah, quite possibly.
At that time, it felt like everybody who was doing like creative stuff was going to LA. But yeah, no, I totally, I see why you'd pick LA.
Yeah, I mean that's the main reason why myself and my partner Olivia would move there is because of the creative side. like I've obviously got a big passion for creating videos and music as well. And at the moment, you know, I was just living in the other side of Australia in Queensland, and I was like there for 2 years. I remember sitting there while I was, I think, writing some music, and I just finishing editing a video, and I was like, I don't know a single other person in this state which is doing YouTube or music. And it's really like, it's not super motivating when you have to like only motivate yourself and you can only discuss stuff with yourself.
There's not a big YouTube scene for Australia?
No, well, if there is, it's certainly difficult to find out about it. Like that's how small it is, I guess. Like obviously in freaking America, it sounds like every second kid wants to be a YouTuber, but here in Australia, I don't know. Like I've been doing it for a while now, and no one in Australia has reached out to me.
Because I watched a good amount of YouTube. I know like the UK has like the Sidemen, KSI, all those guys. America has obviously all the guys that we know of, like Mr. Beast, Logan. The UK, the only UK YouTubers I could think of is the guys who like drop stuff from that tower. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you mean the only Australian guys? Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, because I know they're in Australia. They all have like Australian accents and.
Yeah, I'd love to meet them. I think there was a mutual friend who said he could link me up with them one time. Yeah, I forget what they're called. God damn it. But yeah, those videos are epic. Like the recent one they did was shooting an arrow through like 10 fans as they're spinning. They come up with some crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's not exactly the kind of content that I make, but yeah.
But I mean, speaking of your content, if you guys listening haven't checked out Ben's YouTube, I think it's Ben Echo. He puts in like some work on his YouTube videos, because I come from like a video editing, like an editing background, so I know what it takes to make videos like that. And I remember like clicking on a few of your videos, like when you kind of like were starting to push it, and then I just rewatched a bunch of them just to kind of like get ready for this. And you have the formula down, right? The kind of like Mr. Beast, Logan Paul style, like David Dobrik, that style of like very entertaining, very fast paced, like that style that goes viral on YouTube, right? You have cracked the recipe.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But like, how long does like one of those videos take you to edit? Like, because I'm sure it's a lot of hours. And is it just you, or do you have a team, or?
No, it's just me, and the editing is definitely the slowest process of every single one of my videos, as it is for probably most creators. Yeah, I think like a lot of Mr. Beast and all of those guys will say it, and I agree. It's like, if to be successful on YouTube, how much of it is luck and how much is skill? And I truly believe probably like 95% of it is skill. And I kind of realized that a year and a half ago before I started, and I was like, I can do this. Like I know how to edit videos, and I'm sure I could learn to edit them in a certain way and get better and better. And then so I jumped in, and I think I'm just coming up on like just past 110,000.
Yeah, so, no, that's insane, man. It's exponential, man. The curve is like, you know what a like exponential growth curve is? Like, it's just gonna skyrocket for sure.
I hope so. But yeah, the editing process takes it is freaking slow, dude. Like it's what holds me up. Like I love sitting and filming and writing the scripts for stuff, but when I have to sit down on a computer and just like stare at myself for like I would say 20 to 25 hours to edit one video, it's a pain in the ass.
No, so I remember like I almost edited for Logan Paul as a full-time editor at one point. The Super Bowl was in Houston. Yeah, Super Bowl was in Houston, and I met him at a club with Rocky. Actually, my here, turn the camera to you so you can see you. That's my
Rocky. What's going on?
But we went to a club for the Super Bowl, and like I think it was like Logan Paul, like Summer Rae, Rice Gum was there, and I was a fan of Logan Paul at the time. And I remember like he was walking to the bathroom, and I was like right next to him, and I like asked him like, "Yo, man, like, do you need another editor? Like, I love your content, like all this stuff." And so we exchanged numbers, and he gave me a trial run basically, right, and allowed me to like edit a video or two. And it was so much, man. Like I at that age, like I couldn't cut it, because it was like he sent me like it's like 2 hours worth of footage, and like to edit it in the way that you edit it, which is pretty much his style back in the day. It was ridiculous. It was like 4 hours of editing.
It's fast paced, man. It's a lot of just like, how do I turn 2 hours into like 7 minutes? It seems like impossible.
Yeah, like in 10 seconds of that video is like 30 minutes of editing almost, because the little jokes and like putting in little clips. Like people understand that like all the clips and the jokes you're putting in you have to find the clips and then like find the right clips to put in the right spots. And it's not like you have everything. If you had everything lined up, ready to go, just drop it in. It'd take like under an hour, but it's just the creative process.
Like I'll have like one section of voiceover where I'm talking about, you know, putting photos up of your inspirations to try and motivate you. And I'm like, I could just leave this shot of my face talking to camera, but it could be also interesting to have some shots over the top, some B-roll. And so I'll go and spend hours like then photoshopping a silly photo and then going to a place to print that off. And then I'll stick that on the back of my car, and then I'll drive my car into the driveway. I'll set up the camera, and then I'll get like 20 shots of me pretending to get out of my car with that photos, you know, the Photoshop thing stuck in the back of my car. Like,
and that's all for like a 2-second clip.
Three seconds of footage. But the thing is, I enjoy doing that stuff. And also those are the things which people remember my videos for. Like, that's what
differentiates yourself from everybody else for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I've kind of dug myself this hole where people expect me to do stuff like that. And so now I'm like, well, I got to keep doing it, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you said like earlier, it's like 95% skill. And I agree with that to a certain degree. I think it's also like a big percentage is just like, not determination, but just pure like will to do it. Right. What's the word for that?
Consistency.
Consistency, right? Like just being disciplined. I think discipline is what I was looking for. Just being able to put in those hours and like I don't know where you like, because I wanted to do exactly what you're doing for a while. I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to do that. And then I realized I didn't have that, like the motivation, the discipline, just the energy, the drive to make videos that take 20 hours plus for like a 7-minute video. And you're just like, what am I doing? And especially the rough part is like some of your videos pop off. Like you got videos with millions of views. Some of them don't. And you're like, man, I just spent like 20 hours on a video that got like 10,000 views. Like, even though that's a great number. Yeah.
But that's YouTube right there. And for anyone listening that wants to do YouTube or anything like YouTube, anything creative, the thing you need to be okay with is even with my channel at over 100,000 subs, right? I got multiple videos with millions of views. I still just recently, and I'm sure you've seen it, spent over $1,000 and like 40 hours creating this one video where I created a floating pull-up bar. Now that video over like the past 2 weeks has only got like 7,000 views and has paid me like $20. It flopped so bad, right? It flopped so bad. Now, as far as a ROI, return on investment, it was terrible, but I'm completely and utterly totally okay with that. And that's the best YouTubers have to be okay with putting out a video.
Well, you knew that was like
flopping hard, you know?
You knew that was a possibility when you made it.
Yeah.
So I think like making
I almost didn't make
before.
it. I almost didn't make it so many times because I knew how much time and effort it would be. And for those that are listening that don't know what I'm talking about, it's like I built a pull-up bar out of wood, and then I strapped it to 2 stand-up paddle boards, and I sent it out to my local river and got someone with a drone to fly around and do drone shots of me. And I'm like doing pull-ups in the middle of this river, and all for a bit of fun and entertainment. And and the video flopped hard, but I knew going in, and it was one of my friends who also runs a YouTube channel. He was like, you should do it, because imagine if it gets like 5 million views and goes viral. And I was like, I'm doing it. And now it's got like 5,000 views. So,
unlucky.
Oh well, that's part of it though. You know, I'm okay with
it. I'm curious to what put you onto Logan, because we're both like, I feel like there's not that many Logan Paul fans out there. Like, but I feel like me and you were like, I feel like we're like the doppelgangers of each other in terms of like our interests. Like, but for like you, I mean, what like drew you to his style? Did you watch him back in the day when he was making like the daily vlogs and all that, or?
No, look, I was aware of who he was back then, but I didn't really watch his stuff because I just thought this is a little bit too over the top for me. It's not really my style, and he just didn't seem like an actual human. He seemed like a robot at the time, being like, "Whoa, you know, crazy Logan Paul," and then obviously when that whole thing in Japan happened, which we shall not talk about, but some stuff went down in Japan, and he that's when it came back on my radar, and I became extremely fascinated with trying to understand how someone can go from, like, could possibly think that that's an okay thing to do, which is upload some pretty raw footage, right, of someone in Japan, right? And I was just fascinated. How did this kid go from just growing up as a normal kid, then being put in the spotlight for so long, where his mind and his perception of himself changed and warped so heavily, and what is reality and what is not, that he thought that that was an okay thing to do. So I kind of followed him a little bit from then on to see if I could see any sort of change happening. Because for me,
watch the redemption arc.
What's the redemption? But for me personally, like, my biggest change in life has always come from the darkest. A lot of time it's the darkest times and the struggle, because you have to find a way through, and it forces you to look at things from a different perspective when things are not going so well. And so I was like, I wanted to see if he changes it all from this, because a lot of people aren't expecting him to change it at all. And that's when he started his podcast, and his podcast is epic. It's really insightful and stuff. And it's crazy the shift that I've seen over the years from where he was then to where he is now. He's like a completely different human being. And I find that super fascinating. And I think I relate to the guy more and more, and just respect the redemption, but I just respect that he is actually just going out there and doing lots of different things, and doing them all very successfully. Like, I don't care how much you hate the guy. He literally did fight Floyd Mayweather, and build businesses off Pokemon cards, and like change the freaking course of the history of Pokemon just through his own social media and stuff like that. Like, he's done a lot of really amazing stuff. And I think that's why, I can look up to someone like that and be like, this guy literally just has no limits to what he thinks he can do, and he's proven it, and I can respect that. Just like KSI.
And to be honest, like one of like the big inspirations for this show was Impulsive, and him doing it. There was like a few other podcasts too, but it, like, and at first I didn't know like how much I'd actually enjoy it, or how like what the longevity would look like of the podcast. But and maybe like you could take something from this, because like with what you're saying now, I don't know how like reasonable it is to do like the YouTube thing the way you're doing it, making like 40-hour plus videos and then kind of gambling. But podcasts, man, are so easy. They're not easy in terms of like there's stuff that is hard, but in terms of like just content creation, like it's one of the nicest things, because you just sit down, have a conversation, and you have like a full like hour. Now that we have like the studio and the cameras and stuff, we just have so much clippable content. We have you can just have any guest, right? Like if you get a big enough podcast, people want to come on your show. So it's also a way to network, and you get to meet new people, and you get to have conversations with people that you would never have conversations with normally, right? Because
for sure,
it's like almost a way to force conversation. I mean, it's made me like a better speaker, better socially, even just able to speak more. But I think if you started like a podcast or like did something like
that, I considered
it.
In fact, I was going to set one up like 3 years ago. I looked into it. I looked into all the gear, what kind of style show it's going to be. And then I was like, man, this is just one extra creative thing that's on my list of things to do.
Yeah.
I never got to it. I ended up just joining people's podcasts.
To be fair, it's nice with the team, like with the right people. If I was doing this on my own, like kind of what it feels like you are out there, right? You're just kind of this lone creative trying to like live this lifestyle that people in Australia don't seem to live. Here, it's been a lot easier because, I have Rocky who helps me with the cameras and does all that stuff.
Hey,
and
Rocky.
I have had Daniel that helped me out in the early days a lot and just did the podcast with me. And now I have Grant, is kind of like us, right? He's a creative. He knows how to do the stuff. He does the social media game. So Grant's been like a game changer for me as well. Like having him on as like a full-time guy on the podcast.
That guy just makes anything that he touches more enjoyable and fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
I agree.
does.
No, Grant's a killer. That's why I think move to the States and then just like find yourself a team, man. Like regardless of if that's in LA, if that's in Houston, if that's in New York. But I think
sure.
you would thrive. You would thrive here for sure.
I definitely know a few creative people over in LA, and I'm trying to I need to keep in touch with a few of those creative people. Like, there's a channel on YouTube called Airac. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's Mr. Beast style as well. And I worked on on his creative team for a while, helping him come up with video ideas. So they essentially pay me to kind of brainstorm viral ideas. And that's actually awesome. Super hard, dude. It's super hard to come up with 5 fresh Airac videos every week. And then we have a team meeting and we discuss pros and cons of each of them, why they would and wouldn't work. And then if it's a good enough idea, that he'll just go and create it, which is kind of cool. So, but yeah, if I can keep in touch with those guys, because they're just a big creative team. And I find that in LA, it's like all of a sudden these people know these people, and all of a sudden they're showing up in each other's videos. And I'm like, it's all happening over there. And I'm Mr.
over here,
Aussie guy on my floating pull-up bar in the middle of the river,
fighting these kangaroos.
Yeah, straight up.
That's rough, man.
But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you keep moving. Now, I want to move on to maybe COVID. How did that impact you in terms of, because I know Australia has been one of like the strictest, the most like strict states or countries in terms of COVID. Like, I remember I was talking to a buddy who was working on Australian Ninja Warrior, and he was saying like he was locked in his hotel room for like 2 weeks. He got escorted by military. He literally was like just losing his mind, because it was like he's just in his hotel room and he like no human interaction, right? They just kind of like leave food at your door, knock, and then run down the hall.
How was
it?
I never experienced that per se, but I know that was definitely happening as far as like the COVID hotels that were setting up, where people would go in and then have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and they're literally, a lot of them wouldn't even have any natural airflow. They would just they couldn't even open a window. They're just in a box, and then I think food would be dropped off, and that was it. That was their life.
That's a nightmare,
2 weeks.
bro.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad I didn't have to go through that. Like, there was people, unfortunately, like who were tested negative, but still had to technically still do a 2-week quarantine in the hotel. Meanwhile, their like parents passed away in the hospital, and they just got to deal with it. But obviously, all that stuff happened a lot around the world, and I think it's still happening in China, dude. I don't know if you've seen that stuff over in China, but those people are still locked up. Yeah. And as I said earlier, I just got over it. First time for me, I'm a fresh young blood getting COVID for the first time. It's been pretty good here in Australia actually for the past little while. So like it seems pretty normal, to be honest, especially over in the East Coast. Like you can pretty much just go anywhere, do anything. You don't have to wear a mask. I think even now unvaccinated people, which have stayed strong and not got vaccinated for the past 2 years, can now still once again go out and do stuff, which 6 months ago or a few months ago, they were pretty much not allowed to do anything apart from go and get groceries.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But straight up, like unless you were like fully vaccinated, you couldn't go anywhere, and unless you needed to go and get food and groceries. That was literally it. So they were pretty strict for that kind of stuff. That's for sure. Like I got vaccinated for the show. I was unsure whether I wanted to, but then the show came around and it was a necessity. And I was like, well, that's my decision made for me, So otherwise I couldn't compete. But here we are, man. Life seems extremely normal now, though, to be honest.
That's good. Yeah, I was just like in Europe, and it like the week I went to Europe was the week that they were just lifting everything. Like the UK fully opened up, France fully opened up, and there was like it felt like after two or 3 years. I don't even know what the timeline's been like at this point, but it felt like it was finally getting back to normal. Like I think now, like you can finally go on flights with no mask, and which actually is. I actually realized that I prefer having a mask on a plane, not for like the reasons you'd think, is because like when I flew back from France, I like was breathing like with like my mask kind of low, and I realized that if you keep your mask on in a plane, it kind of keeps your breath like humidified, and so you don't get that like really bad like nasal like just dryness.
It's nice. I agree. I'm gonna continue doing that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I that's where I got recently sick is from the flight back to Perth, like guaranteed is on that flight. So even though I was wearing a mask and still got sick, I still think it's a good idea to just regardless. Also, by the way, drink Prime, everyone. Right? Drink Prime.
Had to throw it in there.
I can't believe this man has Prime.
Not sponsored.
They exist in Australia?
They don't. This is probably the only Prime bottle in Australia. Let's go.
Where did you get it?
I had to order it from America.
Oh,
I was so curious.
There wasn't Prime in there. Don't lie to me, Ben. You just drank water.
It was just water. Unfortunately, I finished the Prime a long time ago. So now it's just my water bottle.
Now here's the real question. Be honest with me, because I've tried Prime because again I was a big KSI Logan Paul fan. Do you like the drink?
I think there's a massive difference when it's actually cold out of the fridge versus like
hot?
sitting around. No. Yeah, but like room temperature versus cold. Yeah. There's a massive difference. I would say I would genuinely go out and buy maybe 2 of the flavors, just keep buying them multiple times. The rest of the flavors on the odd occasion I would definitely go and buy in exchange for Gatorade or anything for sure. Like it's definitely a lot healthier than Gatorade and stuff. But what I found out, interesting fact, right? I looked into it. So they say they've got 250 milligrams of BCAAs, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, what a good recovery drink, right? I found out that the normal, normal male or not normal human really on a daily should have 10,000 milligrams, right?
Yeah.
So that's 10 grams. And this only has 2.5% of what your daily intake of BCAAs actually should be.
Yeah. Where do you get that from?
Which is not much. So I mean, I actually have BCA drinks and they're purely just pure BCA powder. Yeah. And I was like, I wonder how much BCA is in a powder drink, and it's 10 to 15,000 milligrams. This only has like 2% of that. So you'd need to drink 40 primes in order to get your daily dose of BCAs. However, it is marketed as a BCA drink. So are they stooging us here, or are they just doing what they need to do? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't believe this.
That's so
hilarious.
That's so. Do you have any sponsors of the show? Maybe.
We don't. We don't. Or we do. Like I think we've worked with like a few one-time sponsors, but no. Sure. As of now, what we do have though, what I can bring up is our Patreon. Shout out to our Patreons. Shout out Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/kindanice, we have all of our like video episodes. So if you're not a patron, I guess would be the word for it. You can listen to the episodes, on Spotify, on all those different platforms, iTunes. But the videos we reserve for like the patrons, and then we'll post clips on Instagram. And then we have, I made a YouTube video, and I'm releasing a few of the older video episodes, but we're not really pushing it. It's just kind of there. So if you're listening to this and you want to check out what that looks like, to go to YouTube. I think it's kind of nice show on YouTube. But mostly I'm focused on just the podcast.
And Matisse, if everyone listening, Matisse told me before the show that he would personally upload a photo of his feet for the next 10 people that sign up to Patreon. So get on there and see Matisse's feet.
He definitely said
next 10 people.
I validate that.
This guy's a machine.
I can't verify that. But
I'm gonna get 10 people just messaging me like, yo, where's the feet pic?
Where's the feet, Matisse? Hey, there you go. I just got you 10 new subs on Patreon, so you can thank me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll give you a cut. I'll wire you a cut.
Right, here's a question for you. Here's a question, because recently I was watching a video on this chick called Belle Delphine, right? I don't know if you've heard of her. She was like a controversial streamer, I think, at one point. But this video came up, and it was one of those like the rise and fall of this creator. And I didn't really know who she was, but so at one point in time, she took a bath with clothes on and everything, but then she sold that bath water in little jars, right? Super odd. I know this podcast has taken a turn, but stick with me here.
I'm here for it.
So she sold that bath water, and then it immediately sold out. I don't know how many she had, like, a few hundred of them or something like that. And then she shipped out all these little things of water.
Wait, did you buy some?
Did you buy some?
No, I did not buy any. It sold out way too quick. Unfortunately, I couldn't.
You couldn't get it fast enough?
You couldn't get it. I was going to make a YouTube video. No, I wouldn't do that.
Crazy.
But there was people like showing footage of them drinking it and doing all weirds. I know. But my question to you is, here's the question. She would have made a lot of money off that, I'm sure, selling them for like $100 each. But if there was a really strange thing like that, where you could instantly make a lot of money, one, if you had the audience for it, would you do it? Or two, if you would, what would it be? Like if you had to come up with one,
it's
like selling your socks, or
it depends on like if I feel like it's morally compromising immediately. Like if it's like if I'm selling like I don't know like t-shirts or like I don't know like it depends on how weird it is. You'd have to give me like a specific example because as soon as it becomes like weird in the territory of like I feel like this belongs on like OnlyFans, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, sure.
But then it's hard because if you're like I for $1 billion, I'd be like, well, like obviously like most people would do anything for like $1 billion because you're like set for life, right? There's probably a price to where like people will start doing things like that. But would I sell like bathwater? No. But if I had the audience to sell ice bathwater to, that's such a hard question.
Yeah.
I've never thought about this.
I think for the right price, you know, like
I mean everything's for sale. I mean, I think there's a line that I wouldn't cross at some point that like I would try to morally not cross, right? But then again, like with money, it's I could sit here
maybe
and like
what if it was like some you know, a card or like some little thing, and you personally would kiss it every time, and then you would send it off.
That's fine. Yeah. No.
That's fine. And they're like, oh my God, Matisse's lips touch this, and then they would be kissing it late at night, you know, behind closed doors.
You made it really real, but yeah, I think that would be fine. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay, yeah, that's a nice medium. All right, for anyone on Patreon that wants a photo of Matisse, which he has personally kissed himself, then
I'm gonna send it. Here's the thing: we'll do a postcard. I'll kiss one side, and Ben will kiss the other side. So
there we go.
If you're not feeling me one day, you just flip it over.
Yeah,
and you got the Australian. You got the Australian one.
What if we can sell like a cushion, like a bed pillow, and one side is your face, the other side is my face, and they can just we'll do.
His face will be the one on the underside. Get it from the land.
All you gotta do is you flip it like to where it's upside down, and then it's you. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
You really have been brainstorming a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, man. You know, come on, you got to be creative. It's about being creative in today's world. Everyone.
Have you sold merch at all ever or no?
No, I never sold merch. You know, obviously it's something that I could that a lot of people get into, and it's pretty easy to get into these days. But for some reason, I've never jumped into it. I don't know why. I just haven't been bothered. I think my time is better spent elsewhere, but maybe convince me otherwise. But yeah,
I've done a few merch like things, and that's something that a lot of the ninjas did. It kind of felt like when we were like the popular ninjas, when we first kind of like get our quote unquote fame, because I always say like, you know, ninja fame isn't real fame. But we would do merch drops, and I never had like a full store. I'd make like a few hundred shirts and then just sell them, and then I would try to have no inventory. Some people have inventory year round and they just keep up with that. I try not to do that.
Actually, funny story. I've never told this story to anyone. However, it actually does involve one of the OG hosts of Kinda Nice, Daniel Gill.
Yeah.
And he is completely unaware of this. So I did try and create merch one time.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't release it I'll reveal now. So I was over at Ninja Natalie's house one day, and she had a t-shirt set up to create your own t-shirts, right? You kind of draw the design.
I made my first shirt ever on Ninja Natalie's.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So same here. Shout out Ninja Natalie. And anyway, so she's got this t-shirt press over there, and she's like, do you have a design? And I was like, oh, no, but I can come up with one really quick, and then maybe we can print one off. And I just wanted my own shirt. I was really excited, and you know, as you are. And so I went online and I got up a photo of a ninja. I was like, this looks like a ninja doing a ninja pose, because I couldn't find one of myself doing a particular like cool ninja pose, right? Like reaching for something. And I was like, so I'll just look up someone else, and then I'll just trace that and put my face on it. Right. And I found a photo of Daniel Gill, and I was like, damn, this is sick. Like he's like reaching for something. He's looking really cool. And so I traced Daniel Gill's body, and then I put my face on it. And I'm sorry, Daniel Gill, if you're listening, I never released these shirts. There was only one shirt that was ever created. And then it was all just like cartoon kind of stuff. So it was only just like an outline of it. And I didn't think it would matter that much. And then I, printed it and I was like, this is cool. And I was like, oh, but damn, it's like literally the photo. And I realized it's like literally the photo that Daniel Gill uses for a lot of his social media stuff.
I know the exact fit, like photo you're talking about. Like he has like a red shirt and he's like, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that you already know the photo I'm talking about.
I know the photo.
But yeah, I was like, oh damn, like I don't know if I could use this. Now I feel like guilty, and I'm like, oh man, imagine if I'm standing there and Daniel Gill sees me wearing this shirt. I think he would recognize the pose of this ninja that's on my shirt, and I think he would. And I was like terrified. I was like terrified to wear the shirt in case Daniel Gill saw me wearing it, and I was like, I can't release this. This isn't even me. Like I feel like a fraud now. So I never released it.
He wouldn't have cared. I don't even think he would have said anything knowing him.
But yeah, anyway, I was that was my first and only shirt.
No, you could kill it, man. Especially because you have a YouTube following, you have like music, you have Instagram. I don't even think I'm as popular as you are now because of like your YouTube and all that stuff. So and it's always been like. I
mean, obviously America's a much bigger audience. Than Australia for. I mean, sorry, you're frozen now on one of your cameras. Oh, there you go. Now you're back. Good? Yeah, you're good. But yeah, most of my YouTube audience is American, like 90% of it or something like that. So, I don't know.
I guess you just got to get over here.
Yeah.
How? So me. I don't know if you listened to the episode, but me and Grant went to go see Jordan Peterson. You told me you were a big Peterson fan.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
You sure. Have you read any of his books at all or no?
My favorite books are audiobooks. So I don't really read.
I mean, we'll count that. We'll count that.
But I listen to a lot of podcasts and interviews with him. And obviously his 12 Rules for Life. I've started the audiobook, but I haven't gone through the entire thing. But I understand the general idea behind it all. And he talks about 12 Rules of Life a lot in his podcasts. Yeah. But yeah, that guy's fascinating. He honestly is. The way his mind works, and I'm just jealous of his. One of my jokes that I came up with was that I really wanted to improve my my list of words. What's it called?
Rocky, you got this one?
Vocabulary?
Yeah. I wanted to, So that's the joke. I can't think of the word vocabulary. And I'm saying that I want to improve my vocabulary.
This guy's got him on deck.
Yeah, so I want to improve my list of words. I want to improve my vocabulary. And Jordan Peterson's vocabulary is like phenomenal. And I'm very jealous.
It's too much, bro. I remember me and Grant were sitting there at his lecture in Houston, and every 5-10 minutes, either me or Grant would be on our phone Googling a word. We're just like sitting over, so I'd like sit down, Google it, and then like show it to Grant, or like he would Google a word and show it to me. Yeah. And I was like, at what point can this guy just start talking English? Like, this is rough.
Yeah.
I think just recently, and this gets a little deeper, but just recently I heard like I don't know if it was a quote or if it was a line I read of his, but it was also a book. Actually, if you haven't read, I just finished, and it's probably been one of my favorite books. It's by Mark Manson. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F.
Oh yeah. I think I've read half. I think I've read half of it. Once again, I'm very good at reading half of books.
I used to do that too. I used to not finish books all the time. Now I try to if I don't like a book, like I didn't finish Peterson's book because it was just so long. But if I really like the way Mark Manson wrote or writes, so I finished it.
It's very it's very relatable and just relaxed kind of writing. Yeah.
But both Peterson, the quote he says, and kind of the same thing that Mark talks about in his book is, I think Mark was talking about in his life the dark turning point, which we haven't talked about, but like that we both kind of have gone through and agree that like in our life, I think like dark moments can be almost a catalyst for like a metamorphosis to a better person or to a better life or just to wake up. And for him, it was, I think he was 19. He was at this party and he was there with one of his best friends. And I think it was in Dallas, Texas, and there's a big cliff. And he's a young guy drinking, and he goes to hang out with like a girl inside, leaves his friend outside, and then his friend is drunk, and then he cliff jumps down, and it's like nighttime, and his friend ends up drowning because he's dehydrated and he cramps up in the lake, and people can't find him because it's just really dark. But he talks about like after that moment, his life he was like depressed for, I don't know, months. I don't really know how long, but he said that was like the hardest time in his life, the worst moment in his life. But also there was like he can trace that as like a tangible moment in his life where things changed, right? When he went from like not being motivated to not being a bum. And the moment of epiphany for him was when he was like depressed and when he was thinking like, man, and this is kind of the chapter where he's talking about death, and he talks about like, and it's weird to see this from a Christian perspective for me, but it's also relatable because he talks about like, if for him, he was just like, man, if death is really like, you die and then like everybody forgets about you, and eventually like years later on, like nothing you did mattered. Nobody's going to remember anything. Everything's just going to be gone. Then you have two things you can think. It's either A, then literally nothing matters. Why even get up out of bed in the morning? Why do this? But then he said the flip side of that is you can literally think the opposite is, okay, well, nothing matters. Why not make this why not try super hard? Why not make it the best life that it could be? Why not give it my all? And why not, live my life to the fullest? Like, what's the reason to give into fear at any moment if it doesn't matter, right? You trying to like avoid fear in the end doesn't matter. You might as well make your life as beautiful as it can be and try as hard as you can because it doesn't matter, right? So that's the moment.
Right,
and Peterson says the same thing. And that's kind of like, it was in a time where I was like thinking a lot and kind of contemplating these things. And both of these quotes stood out to me. And it was kind of like an answer to what I'd been trying to think about. And it was just it doesn't matter. So I
can completely relate,
Yeah.
Nihilism is essentially what you're summing up there. And I actually just watched a clip last night of Jim Carrey being extremely nihilistic in an interview where I think it was like some Grammys thing or something. And the red carpet person's like going, hey, so what brought you here? And Jim Carrey's like, well, considering absolutely, everything is meaningless in the world, I tried to find the most meaningless thing in the entire world at this moment. So I decided to come here tonight, and he's like essentially saying that this is all BS and all these awards that people give themselves and then celebrate people, blah, blah, blah. And he was being extremely nihilistic. There's definitely a sense of freedom to that as well. Cause I went through the same thing, I went through many thoughts of like, well, nothing matters. So then what the hell? Why would I get out of bed? What's the point of doing anything? Right. And it's easy to get caught up in that. But I think overhearing interviews with a lot of different people who I can relate to and influential people like Jordan Peterson or Jim Carrey or Ricky Gervais or whatever, there is that flip side to it. And I think Ricky Gervais is very good at talking about it. He just wants to have fun in his life because he realizes that nothing really matters. The opinion of that person over there, you can spend all week worrying about it, but actually that really doesn't matter, and even how you react to that person matters more than what they actually say. And for me personally, it's like I almost feel like I have a responsibility to enjoy life while I'm here. It's almost like we're here. It's crazy. It's wild. And it's my responsibility to make sure that I experience all of it while I'm here because it's not going to last forever. And then the whole nothing matters thing is like, well, then I have freedom to kind of go and express myself and do what I want because at the end of the day, it doesn't really fucking matter what I end up doing. So let me try and make my life while I'm here is enjoy it as much as possible and make sure that the people around me are enjoying it as much as possible. Because if we are all walking around thinking like this doesn't matter, so let's have fun, then it is much more enjoyable. But if we're all walking around going, this doesn't matter, then what the hell, what's the point? Then
no, you have to choose like the latter, of course. I mean, that's what like Mark talks about is like, that's what he realized. And then that's that moment where he may have had that epiphany is when he started trying and he went back to school and he like started writing and did all these things that now his life is like, he enjoys his life a lot. But then, going back to like, he talks about like, it took like his best friend dying for his life to get better, which was, it's weird. Yeah. It's weird to think about, but
as a Christian, I feel like, I mean, I'm not religious myself, as you may know, but do you feel there's a lot of religious people which, I mean, their purpose is doing it for God. Is that like Is that
It's weird
that a part of you at all, or?
So I didn't grow up Christian. I've only been a Christian for the past like 3 years of my life maybe. I grew up in a house where like neither of my parents were really religious. Their parents were, but both of my parents have different religions, so they just kind of didn't impose one on my parents. So my parents were just like
Sure.
whatever. So the parents did the same thing with me. So I kind of just grew up like not even really asking myself questions, right? Just kind of living life. And then you reach a certain age where like you do ask yourself questions, and you're like, what's good? Like, why am I here? What is life? Right? Like, like those questions. And Christianity for me came along because I mean I was around a lot of Christians, because you at that point you then have options, right? You look at religions and you're like, man, I have there's Islam, there's Buddhism, there's all these different avenues of religions, and Christianity was kind of the closest one for me because it was kind of with the people around me, they were Christians, and my trainer James Wyatt, who's been like a mentor in my life for a long time, was also a Christian. So I had gone to church a few times, right? Even with my parents, like Christmas and Easter, and I started asking myself questions and stuff, and reading the Bible, and just kind of praying to ask God to kind of like reveal to me like what the truth was, right? Like what was my plan, and it's hard for me still today to think about condemning any other religion for not being like the one that I chose, because I still in the back of my mind like I live through faith, but we all have doubt, and we're all like, well, I mean, maybe like hopefully I didn't get it wrong, but for me choosing Christianity was more about the faith aspect of it, and choosing to follow Jesus and the Bible and all that, because at one point I haven't told the story much, but I remember I was in church and I'm praying, and I'm just like, I was still just asking God to like reveal himself to me. And I remember like at a time where I was just really confused. I'm praying, I'm at this church, like in the middle of nowhere in Texas with Randy, which is like a good friend of me now, which was the pastor. And I'm just asking for God to reveal himself to me. And I like, it was weird. It's almost like a trip, but I remember like seeing kind of like not space, but like I remember feeling very emotional, and then like just a voice saying like I'm here or something like that. And it was like when you have like inner dialect, it's your own voice. It like It wasn't inner dialect, which was weird to me, and I started crying. But Christianity for me at some point I asked myself the question of like, if Christianity is wrong, right? Then I haven't really lost anything, right? Like I try to live through good values. I try to like, strive to do good by people and live by good morals. But if it's right, then I gained everything, right? So that's the thing. I was just like, it's in anything in life. I'm a very like logistical person. I take things for like face value, and I'm like, you have to weigh things. It's like, okay, what's the risk, the risk to reward, right? And the risk to not following Christianity sucks. Whereas like it doesn't really cost me anything, and it's a way to bond with people, and it's a way to have a relationship with God and things, and it's helped me even with like just health in general, of not being as stressed about things, because I feel like I have an outlet in that. But and that's something that I don't know, it's because I don't talk about it much, but yeah, when I made that decision of like, okay, well, if I'm wrong, and I think Peterson says the same thing, to where he says like, if Christianity is right, then it's the most importance. It's like the most important thing out there. But if it's wrong, like it's it's nihilistic. Yeah. Nothing else matters, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like chose that side of it, and thinking about going back to, because I feel like I had to explain all that to get back to the answer of thinking of like nihilism and like that nothing matters. If you come at it from a Christian perspective, then all that matters is like trying to share your faith and share your testimony, and just get other people to see like to kind of find the Bible or find the Testament. But it's hard for me to like, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go up to somebody and be like, oh, like you're wrong, your religion is wrong, you're going to burn in hell if you don't follow like this way of life. Yeah. I think that anybody can find peace through their own, not their own means, but through their own like faith, right? And whether that
through their own understanding, for sure.
Yeah, right. Now I think you won't achieve I feel like you can kind of find peace through different things, and the Bible, you know, talks about what's the word I'm looking for here? Talks about like like making other things like God, essentially putting other things as like God in your life, right? And people find that through passion of sport, right? For some people it's basketball, for some people it's surfing, for some people it's their career.
Yeah.
That's their God. That's what they're finding their peace, their faith in. What?
They're idols.
Yeah, they're idols. Idols is the word I was looking for.
Idols, sure, yeah.
Now you can make anything an idol, and it'll provide you with like a sense of purpose, a sense of passion. But until I made like kind of Christianity like not my idol, but made that like my focus, it's been a journey, man, and it still is a journey, but
I think from my understanding is, you know, I think my view on Christianity is I'm envious of it to a big degree,
which I was too.
I'm definitely envious of Christian people and the community that it has and everything that it brings, the sense of purpose in life that it brings. I think I'm definitely envious of. But the thing I think with Christianity and a lot of religions is, and this is my take, is a lot of people say, and especially when it comes to things like God and stuff, it's like, I'll believe it when I see it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people say that about Christianity. But I think the thing with Christianity is you have to believe it first and then you'll see it. Like then you'll understand, but you have to, and that's the tricky thing. That's the line that I haven't crossed. It's like, it's really difficult to believe something without seeing it first. So then people wait to kind of hear from God and see from God. But then even I was on the radio recently and there was a Christian station on. I was like, I'm going to hear this out. I'm keen to hear what this guy's talking about. Yeah. And he was talking about exactly this. And he was kind of saying, you know, God won't reveal himself to you unless he truly knows that you believe. Yeah. And it's like, for me, it's a catch-22 because I'm kind of stuck on the other side where I know I don't believe. Like I can say it a million times over, but unless I actually truly feel it, then I can say it as many times as I want. It's not going to be true until I truly know in my heart that it's true, right?
I mean, man, I was exactly where you're at. Because again, like I've said, we're kind of like the same person, like just doppelgangers at different countries, and everything you're saying is the exact same thoughts that I've had. It was just like and a part of that was ego for me, at least for me. I'm not saying it was for you, but I kind of had this chip on my shoulder that was like, I'm not just going to believe some fairy tale and like live my life out, you know, believing lies. But at some point I had to put my ego aside and take that leap of faith, right? Because
that's faith, what it is. Yeah.
I mean, it really is all faith at some point. Like it's faith by definition means it's, you know, something you're believing in without having concrete, tangible evidence. Like that is what it is. Now, like I guess advice or the thing I would tell you is to just like, you know, pray. Cause I don't, the quote you said about the guy saying that like God won't reveal himself until you truly believe. Like, I think that's not true. Cause that doesn't make any sense. Right. Cause if you fully believed, you wouldn't need him to do that. But just I prayed a lot for just God to reveal himself to me and for people to come into my life to guide me in the right places. And praying I think is number one, right? Just even if you feel like praying is weird, just do it anyways and just ask for whatever you want, right? Ask for like if you want him to reveal himself to you, if you want just the truth to be shown to you, ask for that. And then just talking to people, talking to you, talking to pastors, asking for people for their testimonies and hearing because at some point in life, like I kept hearing stories of people being healed or of things happening that like, I've never seen that in my life. I've never seen somebody like be in a wheelchair and walk and somebody's arm be fixed, or somebody like the pastor Randy that I talked about was really sick as a kid with like seizures and stuff. And didn't want to take his medicine anymore. And one day he was like, just said like, look, like I'm either going to die, but I'm not taking this medicine anymore. God's going to heal me. And he was healed. Right. So, and then when you hear some of that stuff, you're like, man, nothing like that's ever happened in my life. Like, that's crazy. But the more and more people you meet at church and you talk to, they give you their testimony. They're like, either all of these dudes are whack jobs and they're crazy and like, you know what I mean? They all have these crazy stories, or there's something out there, right? Like,
for sure.
So hearing people's testimonies was a big thing too. And like just praying for things like that in my life.
I think, you know, I mean, like my take on that is, I don't know. You might not like this take, but I'm
here for it. I'm here for it.
I'm gonna give it to you
anyway.
anyway.
Just about Twitter, so we're all got free speech.
Yeah. Is you know, I'm a big believer in the power of the human mind, and especially, I don't think people realize what the human mind is capable of if they give it the correct, I guess, source of power in order to help unlock itself. And you know, like I'm recently doing my next YouTube video is the power of placebo. And I've been doing a huge amount of research because I'll tell you the story, right? I was running up and down my street every day, exercising. And my neighbor came up to me one day, and I never really met the guy, but he came up and he said, "Hey, I noticed you running around a lot recently. And I run a company, and my company can help you get faster, stronger, better using our product, and it works immediately." And I was like, wow, this is very interesting. And they sponsor like football teams and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm interested. And he goes, okay, we're going to do a test. And he stood there with me. And the first test was I stood there, feet shoulder width apart and hands by my side. And I had to keep my arms rigid and strong. And he stood by the side of me, and then he would try and lift me up using one of my fists and pull me sideways. And I had to try and resist, you know, and use all my strength. And eventually he tipped me over. I was like, okay, sure. And he did the same one where I had my fists at my chest and I stood still, and he tried to pull me forward and I tried to resist. And then he said, I've got these pairs of socks. And these socks have this pattern woven in on the bottom of them. And when this pattern, it's a very scientific pattern, when it touches your skin, it sends a signal to your brain, and it helps unlock a part of your brain to make you better, faster, stronger, right? And that's when I started to be like, okay, this sounds like a little bit of BS right here. How does this bit of cotton on this sock going to do anything to me? But what he actually gave me was like he gave me a patch version of it. I didn't put the socks on, but he gave me this little patch. It looks like a nicotine patch, a clear thing. And he stuck it on my skin. And all he did was stick this little plastic thing on my skin, on my shoulder. And he's like, all right, let's do the tests again. And so we did the tests again, and naturally the results were better, right? Like I was stronger, I was better at resisting and blah, blah, blah. However, the results weren't better because the patch did anything. The results were better because, first and foremost, I allowed them to be better because I didn't want to embarrass this guy, right? Like it would just be embarrassing for me to be worse the second time. But then also comes the fact that he's going to pull slightly harder the second time subconsciously. We both want the product to work. So he's going to try a little harder the second time. I'm going to resist slightly less. Anyway, how does this relate to religion and everything? You're probably wondering. I know
where you're going with this.
So my point is, these products literally do actually help a lot of people. And there's videos all over the internet of people with really debilitating diseases that are like walking because they've had a car accident and they're walking and shaking. Excuse me. And they can't control their muscles, right? And then they sit down, and the instant this sock touches their foot, they stop shaking and they can walk normally, right? And it's amazing. And this is literally happening to people. And for me, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Either this sock on this fabric is doing something, or this is just the vessel for the person to unlock something within themselves, right? And I don't know. Like, so I see a lot of these things as the same kind of thing.
You said the sock did nothing or the patch did nothing, right? But I would disagree and said like that it did do something. Now, regardless of if like it's scientific what it did, without the sock, without the patch, like nothing would change, right?
No, that's right. Yeah.
If you take that out of the equation.
I feel like the power wasn't within the sock. It was within the person's mind, but they needed that vessel for them to believe that something is going to fix me. And then they end up just fixing themselves. And they do tests like this on people all the time. The power of belief, if you believe something is going to happen, it is literally way more likely to happen.
No, absolutely. I know what you mean. I mean, that's like, and I got into a lot of that as well. And again, like there's no answer to that. And I think somebody would probably be more like qualified than I am to kind of speak on it. But the answer that's to that for me at least was like people, I mean, we're created, like if you read the Bible, we're created in God's image, right? And we kind of have all this power and potential inside of us that we can utilize. So people like healing with, you know, with the power of their own mind and not having to, hold on, my computer's trying to restart. Wait an hour. There we go. Having to be able to do that for themselves, like that's not anything that would oppose the Bible or what the Bible says. But now going back to it again, like why not give it a try? Like why not try to convince yourself and just be like, okay, I'm gonna give myself to faith. I'm gonna read my Bible. I'm gonna go to church, whatever, and just see what my life is like in a year, right? If in a year you feel like you're worse off, or you feel like you still don't enjoy walking, or like not enjoy, but you still feel like you're lying to yourself. You still feel like it's just not the lifestyle for you. You know, worst case, you gave it a year, and then, you know, you've lost nothing. And then best case, you've kind of saved yourself like for eternity. Like that's that, like, that goes back to that like risk to reward thing that I talk about. It's like, why not just give it all you've got? There's nothing to lose. Right. And that was for me, that was my story, and how I just I took that leap of faith. And a lot of that came from me in my darkest moments, where I was just like, I just felt like I couldn't do it on my own. Yeah. So I was just like, you know, I would pray and just be like, yo, like, help me. Like, I need strength. I need something. And then, you know, I got through it. Right. So that's kind of just, that would be me. Just give it a shot.
I think I have, you know, my own version of that, which I go to, which is, you know, a lot of people obviously have God that they go to. And I think that's an amazing thing.
You talk about the universe. Yeah. We've talked a lot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's something we discussed. That's my go-to. Is you know, my bigger belief is that, you know, we all came from the same thing, which is the universe. You know, and for me, it's like, even if you look at it fundamentally, of like we all came from the ground. Like our parents consumed food, and that food ended up, you know, creating them, and they created us, and so, you know, it all kind of comes into one piece there. And for me, it's like when I, you know, right before I climbed Mount Midoriyama, I would look up to the sky and I would thank the universe, and I would say, thank you. And like, you know, let me get through this or whatever. Or a good example actually is when I was in America competing on American Ninja Warrior on the USA versus the world. And I was having a pretty rough time actually at that period of time, and mentally. And I remember right before my run, I laid down and I put on some music, and I was like, I just need to get out of my head for a second. I'm about to run. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy it. And I was like laying there thinking like, please universe, just like give me a sign that this is going to be okay. And I'm saying the universe, at this point in time, and still now, I have no belief in God or anything like that. Right. However, I'm laying there and I'm thanking the universe. And I'm like, just like, give me a sign. And I clicked next song. And the next song that came on was my song, right, which is called Echo. And it was my most viral song. It was going really well at the time. And I eventually, like, I was just like, this is a sign. This is going to be a sign that things are going to be okay. And I jammed out to the song and I had a sick time. And then I ended up going out on stage and crushing it, right? And anyone else that was religious would be sitting in my exact position and go, that's the sign from God. And for me, I said, that's the sign from the universe. Like, but I think we're talking about the same thing in my.
No,
in my
you absolutely are. And my thing is like, I don't know. Like, this is what I would think, right? And I'm gonna preface with like, this is purely my opinion, but I think if God was all loving and like, you know, he loves, like, he doesn't want anybody to perish. He you know, he loves all of his children. He hears you pray and he hears you like kind of lost, and he doesn't really know, like, he's not gonna not answer your prayer if you're in distress, just because you're saying universe, right? He's not going to be like, this guy didn't use the right name, F him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because he loves you, right? So he wants the best for you. Now that's I mean, I feel like a lot of people have the same thing. Like you feel a connection with whatever you're praying to, and whether that's, you know, the universe, God, or whatever else you believe in. And if it gets answered or something you feel a connection to, you tend to put more belief into that. But for me, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that, you know, you would get a sign and then assign whatever value you wanted to that. But like, I don't think that God wouldn't answer a prayer that wasn't directed fully at, it is directed at him, but I still think, I mean, he is the universe, right? So it was still directed at him.
Well, I think, my perception on all of this is really, you could obviously say that what I experienced, what I thought, you think that I thought it was the universe, but really it was God. And then I can say to you, but everything that you guys are doing is like the opposite, right? And then the same as person.
Have you tried reading like the Bible and like doing all that fun stuff?
I did. And I've been to church before and stuff like that. And for me, even just like, I didn't get too far into the Bible because I was going in with like open mind. Let's go, let's read it.
What did you read?
I forget what it was. It was one of the passages towards the start. And I think it started talking about, where does it start with? I mean, obviously there's like Adam and Eve, and then there's Noah's Ark and stuff like that. Those particular stories, to me, I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah,
to me, I'm like,
so like personally, I wouldn't start with Genesis. I get why people do
Genesis.
It was
Genesis. Yeah.
I would start with like one of the disciples' books. So like what are they called, Rocky?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yeah, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Kind of like the story of Jesus is where it'd be easier to start there. I think it'd make more sense. Because Genesis is like, I mean, it's the start of the book because it's the start of the universe, and it explains like, I mean, artistically, it's like that's how you would tell a story, right? The start would be the start.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
In the beginning, right? It'd be weird if it was in the beginning and then it skips 2,000 years. It's like, wait, what? So I think that's why it's in the front like that. But I understand. I mean, but at some point, it's going to take faith for you, because I don't know what you believe in, right? Say now you believe in the universe, or you're an atheist, you believe in nothing. Regardless, it's taking faith for you to believe that, right? It's not like it's taking more faith for you to believe in Christianity than it is for you to believe in atheism. One isn't fully proven, like one isn't more fully proven than the other. They're both aspects of faith. So like, again, like my thing was just like, why not choose the one that seems either A, more probable, or B, that has a better outcome? Like if I believe in atheism, then like my outcome is like the same regardless. But if I believe in Christianity, like my outcome can be better than it was. Like one has like a pro and a con, and one has just neutral. So I might as well choose the one that's going to end up in like me being in a better place. And that's like the baseline for why like I fully took the jump. But
I think a part of me is also, I mean, maybe it's the atheist part, which is like, which is also aware that there's also, like in my mind, I'm like, there's a big potential that none of us are right about any of this, and that all of the things that we see as signs are just confirmation bias to help us feel secure in something that we don't understand. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. So I'm going to attach meaning to them. What is this meaning? Who controls this meaning? I need to come up with something that explains that too. And then so it
gets a little crazy for sure.
It definitely does,
but try reading through Matthew. I think that was what was the first book you read, Rocky? Like, did you read through like Genesis at first, or
Matthew?
I think Matthew is a good start. Because you've only tried to read Genesis, right? And then you were like, what is this?
Or John.
Yeah.
I would say Matthew or John, but so like read through Matthew, and then it'd be cool because I love talking about this stuff. Like for me, another thing that helped me a lot was talking to people. And if you do end up coming to America, swing by Houston, and then one of the guys that just answered a lot of questions that I felt like every time I was asking Christians these questions, they would just give me cop-out answers like, oh, we're not meant to know that, or like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and I was just like,
I don't fly with that stuff.
Yeah, I don't fly with that stuff either. But this guy, like Randy, would give me answers. And like, regardless of if I fully believe his answers now, or seeing him have the level of faith that he had, and then have answers that made like sense. Like they weren't like just BS. He wasn't just saying like, he could back him up and prove it and scripturally pull out the Bible and be like, look, it's right here. I was like, oh, like, I think the big problem with Christianity and why a lot of people were turned off by it is not because of Christianity or the Bible itself. And it's because of Christians. It's because people have a lack of understanding of what they're talking about. And I'm not saying that I have fully that understanding, but I'm saying people who claim to have that understanding will talk to people and just turn people completely away from it, because they associate the people with the Bible and Jesus when that's not the case, right? It'd be like associating, like, I guess I want to say Germany with Hitler, but maybe that's not the best association. But it's like, yeah, it'd be like saying like, oh, all Germans are like Nazis. Like, you have to make a decision for yourself, and you will find people that are Christians and that have, that haven't even read the Bible, and they're just like talking, and you're like, nothing, and that's a huge turnoff. You're like, what? Like, am I going to be one of these idiots walking around claiming something and not have anything behind it? And again, for me, like, I think we're both two guys that think a lot. And I found that guy, the pastor who was able to explain all of these questions for me. And having conversations with him was, super insightful. And I think for you, regardless of where you're at now, just being able to ask those questions and get those answers is huge, because you're like, they're almost like walls that like you go into something and then you're like, but this, and I can't go around this, and nobody can explain this to me. So like, I can't move forward. Yeah. So that was a big wall breaker for me.
Yeah. I think, that all makes sense. And I think, but maybe, and I'm sure my mind can be changed, but I'm sure, I think my ultimate answer is for all of this is that if I'm given an answer for such a big question, and there's such a good answer with such conviction behind it, the person saying it is saying it with such conviction, I ultimately think that there's way more likelihood that we don't have an answer for that question than the answer was written in a book a long time ago and it's correct. That's my belief.
It's not about conviction and the person saying it, because I could tell you something with full conviction and it would seem like I'm telling the truth, and I would never buy that. It's the fact that like you can go to the book and like it's written down and it's there, and like there's no there's no conviction, there's no like need for me to be like a salesman and prove to you that I have this conviction and faith that I believe it. It's like you don't have to believe me, man. Just read it and it's right there.
If you went to any of the other religions and they had a different answer for the same question and it was written in their book with such conviction, would that confuse you or?
Not really, because like if you have to, I mean, so the basis for all of this, right, is where we have to start with the conversation is do you believe the Bible is true, and do you believe the Bible is what it claims to be? Because if you don't, then we can't have a conversation from there. Like there's no reason for us to even talk, because it's like we have this wall. So the first thing you have to do when you're going into this is research like the Bible and how the Bible was written, where it's from, like what is even the Bible, right? So that's like the first step regardless. And then you can look at other holy books like, the Quran, or I don't really know what the Hindu pantheon is like, or what, like, I mean, you got the Greeks, you got the Romans, the Egyptians and all that stuff. But you have to look back at like these things and which book is more credible in your eyes, which book has the most credibility. And for me, that was the Bible when I did that research. So
that's fair. That's probably a good starting point really for anyone. Yeah,
it has to be. Because then if you don't start there and you just start reading it, then you're just going to be like, what am I reading? Like,
yeah. That's kind of what I did. I was like, what the hell, Genesis? What this is? It was definitely a tricky thing. Genesis was probably not the best thing to start at, which is by the sounds of it. It's good to have, like, I was so blessed, man, with people in my life and mentors and people to guide me. That's one of my biggest blessings. Yeah, that's the thing about Australia as well. Like people just don't, like here in Australia, people just aren't religious really, or if they are, it's certainly not spoken about very much.
I mean, I understand that too, because I'm from France, right? And it's the same energy in France. America.
So I'm assuming if I grew up in Texas, it would be very different. So it's really hard to know. It is really hard to know. But I'm open to all conversations like this. Like I love talking about this stuff. For sure.
Yeah. We're at an hour 30, so I think I'm going to try to wrap this up.
Sure.
This really went crazy. I really appreciate your time, man. I want to shout out all your, if you want to check out his music, it's Lacuno. I don't know how to say that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the older music is Lacuno, which is Lakuno. But I haven't released anything on there for like 5 years now. I've got a bunch of new music. Yeah, I got a bunch of new music, which will be under the name Ben Echo. Same as the YouTube channel. But it hasn't been released yet. So,
I'm here
keep your eyes out for it. It's all just house electronic music for those that are wondering. But yeah, if you subscribe to me on YouTube, Ben Echo, then when I release music, you'll find out about it too.
Yeah. Go to his YouTube, go to his Instagram. He puts out great stuff, really motivational stuff. If you guys want to check out the Patreon and check out the full video episode of this
and Matisse's feet and
30 other videos, you can go to patreon.com/kindofnice and join us there. We'll also we'll do some Zoom meetings here soon over the summer, and we'll get you guys some extra content. We're also on Instagram at Kinda Nice Show if you guys want to see some clips and just interact with us a little bit. Man, it's been a pleasure. Every time we talk, I feel like we could talk for hours.
Yeah, I know. We go deep. We start at Ninja, then we go to like weird stuff, and then we end up on some like real deep stuff, which is good.
No, we went all the way.
Impactful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, you
having me on, man.
Fast-paced questions you want to ask him? Rocky usually ends up with some quirky questions.
Hit me with a Rocky.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear him when he talks?
Yeah, I can hear you a bit. Yeah.
I don't got a multiple choice, but I do got. If you come to American Ninja Warrior, you compete on the real show. What place you getting?
You talking about this
What was
year?
the last?
On any year.
He's saying if you competed on Ninja Warrior as like a base athlete, not like a special show, how far do you think you would go?
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest. The American show is a lot harder than Australia. Let's not beat around the bush there. I would say if I trained hard for it, I'd be confident that I could make it to stage 2.
Yeah.
But whether I could get through stage 2 is a different story. I think your hardest courses will be your semifinals and stage 2 and 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Dude, it was funny. I know we're trying to wrap up, but in France, they kept trying to interview me and they kept trying to like get me to say that France is just as hard as America or like compare the two. And I was just like, guys, it's not even close. Cause the thing was like, I went out there competing not at my peak, right? I had like destroyed my shoulder like a year and a half ago and I didn't really get to train how I wanted. And I was hurt 3 weeks in. I was sick going into it. Like these are a bunch of bullshit excuses. I'm not saying that's like real excuses, but those are the facts. So the guys were looking at me like, oh, this is what like a top American looks like. And the fact of the matter is like, I chose to compete in France that year because I wouldn't have done well in America in the current physical state that I was in. So when they're like interviewing me and they're like, oh yeah, tell us like the difference between France and America. Like, yeah, you underestimated us, didn't you? And I'm like, no, I didn't. This is exactly how I thought it would be. I'm just like, I'm just not in the best shape right now. It is what it is. And obviously they hated those answers. They would try to like turn it around on me.
They want to make the French people feel like they're actually working hard, but
but it's different, man. I kept telling them like my answer would be like, it's different, guys. Like, and also you guys are a lot like, it's season 7. They're on season 15, 14. Like, stop trying to compare the two. It's you guys aren't where they're
it's
at,
impossible.
But you haven't been around as long. So
I mean, to say it's the same, it would just be a massive insult to America. Like,
it would be a massive insult to me too, because it's like I'm just lying, bro. Like, they're crazy.
I feel you.
Yeah, that's a good question, Rock. You got any quirky questions? You staying with the serious?
Serious question. Have you ever been to 42 Wallaby Way?
Oh, that's a good one. Have you ever been to 42 Wallaby Way in Australia?
Oh,
he doesn't know what it is. Does he know what it is?
No. It sounds extremely familiar.
Come on, Ben.
42 Wallaby Way. Is that, God, I should know what that is. I don't know.
I'm not going to front like I knew. I didn't know either. It's Nemo's. It's the dentist.
Oh, that's right. Amazing question. I'm gonna remember that for next time.
We looked it up. It's just some random house. It's not even like a.
Is it?
But somebody lives there. That literally probably what made the property value go up. Like
that's cool.
Sure.
That's very cool. Hell yeah.
That's what's up. All right, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so we're gonna wrap it up there. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for rocking with the Kinda Nice podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
See ya.
I'm kinda nice with the gear, shout out my area code. I'm feeling nice with the drill, and I'm about to bury the flow. I'm about to make me a meal.